So that was the last of Us for this season. Just in case, just in case somebody hasn't made that joke yet. Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MyTheMovieGuy.com, and this is my recap review of The Last of Us. Duh. Season 1, episode 9. Don't know why we didn't make it to 10. But, hey, 9 episode first season. It's a weird episode order, but I feel like we usually get 8 or 10. 9 is... It almost feels incomplete. It feels... 9 is the kind of episode order that you give a TV show that later on is going to have like a Christmas special. You know, to round out... Like, sort of like... how the Sandman, I don't know if anybody remembers when that dropped, and then they dropped like the extra episode. I almost feel like we're gonna get that. I almost feel like HBO like 3 months from now is gonna be like special Last of Us episode about cats. Spoilers. Oh, spoilers beware. In this, by the way. Shout out to Roy Samuelson for his excellent narration all season long. This episode is high action, high octane, requires a lot of really terrific audio description in order to bring in everything. I loved all of the combat stuff. I loved all of the fighting when the Mandalorian decides to rescue Ellie at the end of this. Hey, if I keep making Joel jokes in my Mandalorian stuff, I'm going to make a Mandalorian joke in The Last of Us in the last episode. So this is what happens when Pedro Pascal is literally leading probably the 2 most watched shows on television right now. I'm going to guess. The Mandalorian is probably the second hottest show on TV at the same time that Last of Us is the hottest show on TV. Anyway, he's having a good year. He's having a fantastic year. Great Pedro Pascal. The year of Pedro. I think that's on the Chinese zodiac. Anyway. So, yeah, that whole sequence where he's fighting all the Fireflies. Obviously, we need audio description. There was one where he sees like a guy, like the shadow of a guy through some, I don't know, like frosted glass or something, and just, you know, blasts him. It's little things like that we wouldn't get otherwise. So that was great. Probably the one question that I would have and did have, I would say, out of the whole thing was and I think I'm trying to think of like other birthing scenes I've seen recently, like House of the Dragon, and I'm thinking that scene where we flashback where Ellie's born, and I'm trying to figure out, because we hear Ellie and it comes just after her mother has to fight off the zombie, and I didn't quite understand. And I have a vision, and this is maybe this might be the incorrect vision, but this is what I got from audio description. Mom fights zombie, Ellie falls out of vagina and is dangling between the legs and or hits the floor. That's what I got, hanging from an umbilical cord. Or maybe is only partially out, and there's like the head of the baby is starting to... I don't know what you guys can see, but I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if that's there. But if I had one question coming out of the audio description, it would have been that. I felt like that wasn't really clear enough. It was just like, oh, baby. Cool. Is it half in, half out? Did it fall and hit the ground? Is it dangling? Is it... I mean, there's a reference to cutting the umbilical cord, and without necessarily her having to, like, remove it further from her body. So, I don't know. Uh, I'm lost on that one. I have so in my mind, in the middle of fighting, she just gave birth, and Ellie just plopped out and is just sitting there on the ground and is like, "Hey, you dropped me. I'm down here." Either that or else the umbilical cord is not long enough for her to actually hit the ground, and she's just like dangling from an umbilical cord. One of those two things is happening. But I feel like I've seen the other before. I've seen the like half in, half out done in a movie, and I can't, or like a TV show, and I can't think of what it is. But anyway, the thing about this film, the TV show, I should say TV show, is I love the first season. First of all, it was great pretty much all the way through. I think I fluctuated only between like A minus. Maybe I gave it a B plus one time. I don't remember. But I try not to give necessarily. I don't want to make it just look like I'm like A. I mean, some shows are like that where it's just like I'm fighting to be poker face. It's really hard for me to find something with poker face where I'm like, I don't know about. I don't know when I'm going to be able to give that show an A minus. It's going to have to really try my patience. But with The Last of Us, it's been pretty great. I don't know how long we're going to be able to enjoy a show in which everybody but these two die, and then these two never die. So I still think that that's a longevity problem. My problem with this episode lies in the fact that the writers built themselves something and didn't take any advantage of it, and they did not go where they needed to go with it. There's that final scene between Marlene and Joel when Joel is carrying Ellie out to the car, and Marlene stops him and says, stop, we can fix it, we can go back, we can still do it. And she makes an assumption based on her knowledge of Ellie, where she says, she would want this. And the show even kind of hints at that later on when Ellie says, all the people along the way, if you're telling me the truth, tell me that's what it is. She obviously doesn't want it to all be for nothing. But one of the things that we learned when Joel was being kept captive was that she specifically said, Marlene said, don't worry, she doesn't know, we're keeping her calm. Which means Marlene wasn't honest with her. So here's my thing. Here's my roundabout on that is if Marlene truly believed that Ellie would have made that choice, knowing and being given the opportunity to make that choice, she would have made it. But because she didn't ask her, it's a lie and it's bullshit. Because she knows Ellie would not have been like, take my brain out. The fact is that nobody actually sat down and said, why don't we ask Ellie what she wants? But then the show pivots to Ellie at the end suggesting that maybe, but she doesn't know necessarily that they would have removed her brain. So I don't really like where the show left me in terms of that narrative. Because Marlene's right, she has known Ellie the longest. Although our interaction with Marlene and Ellie when we first met them interacting together suggests that Ellie doesn't know that Marlene has known her as long. It just depends on how long Marlene has been watching Ellie. If Marlene truly believed that Ellie would have made that choice, she would have asked, and Ellie would have said yes. And then everything would have just been, her telling Joel, yeah, she knows, she chose it. And if you want, you can go say bye. She wants to say goodbye. And then that would have been a completely different show. but instead the writers decided to try to have their cake and eat it too, and now the show just doesn't make any sense. So the show just left itself with this like conflicting conundrum of shit, where Marlene tries to take a high road by saying, you know, she would choose this. It's like, no, you don't even know that she would choose this, which is why you didn't ask her. And then Joel, meanwhile, also doesn't want to ask her, believing that the opposite is true, believing that she would not make that choice, that she thought she was there to treat the world, because she was talking about the future afterwards, right? She was talking about all the things that they could do after the treatment. She thought they probably just needed to draw her blood or something like that, not necessarily remove her brain. So Joel's leaning a little bit more on, I think I've been with this girl a little bit longer than you. I think I know that she wouldn't have wanted to. But then Joel doesn't tell her the truth. So nobody actually believes that they know Ellie well enough to know what her decision was. And nobody actually asks her what her decision would be. But yet the show tries to leave you with that cliffhanger of an ending, like Joel lied to her. And like, I just don't buy it. I think it's bullshit, and I think the show just left you with this weird sort of messaging at the end, where it's that they were like suggesting that Ellie was like, was it all for nothing? You know, it's like, well, depends. Did you want to have your brain removed and die on the table, and then like maybe we have a cure? Or were you thinking maybe that they were going to take, I don't know, some bone marrow or some blood, you know, like a sample? Because I felt like that's probably what she was thinking this whole time. I don't think they were like, oh, I don't think Ellie was walking into this going, they're going to take my brain. So nobody asked her. But then, you know, Joel didn't have the balls to tell her the truth either. So, and then the show tries to turn around and have Ellie be like, I lost my best friend. What was this all for nothing? And it's like, what the fuck is the message to this shit? Nobody knew what Ellie wanted. Nobody seemed to care at all, and she has no idea what went on. It's just a big fucking question mark at the end of the show, because nobody bothered to just ask her, but everybody seems to know exactly what they think Ellie would have wanted. Writers are frustrating. I don't even think it's a good cliffhanger, is what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think, I think you guys just were writing each other into like a corner. You just kept writing yourselves into this mess. And I think the rest of the episode is great, but when you actually had those people start talking, and then like we just kind of get out on the open road, and then Ellie decides to leave the show the way that we left the show, no, damn it. That's not acceptable. That is not acceptable. I know that it's obviously it's going to come back to haunt us later on. I'm sure because he left some nurses alive. So some Fireflies are going to start hunting them down. They know about Ellie. So now Fireflies are no longer friendly. They're enemies. I get that. I get all that. I get where we're going with that. But neither one of those characters ever thought to ask Ellie. And that means neither one of them knew for certain what she would want, and neither one of them cared enough. So, and at this point, we don't know what Ellie would have done, because the show didn't tell us. The show suggests that Ellie would make that choice, with her, like, you know, like all these people that died for me. But again, like I said, thinking that somebody's going to remove your brain is pretty much the most extreme answer to, oh yeah, we're going to go see some doctors and they're going to run some tests on my brain, removed from my head. It's not probably the first thing she thought of. So, I don't know. I wish there was a better cliffhanger. They didn't. I don't think this is the cliffhanger that we need to wait. I don't know. I'm gonna guess this is gonna be this is heavily a lot of visual effects. I'm gonna guess this is a 2-year thing. This is gonna be like House of the Dragon, where we won't see the show again until 2025. So it's my prediction, or like maybe like I don't know, holiday season 2024. They'll shave off like a month or two, but it's gonna be a while before we get answers to that question. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed The Last of Us finale, but unlike some other people, I'm not gonna jump up and down for this finale. I just think the conundrum at the end just doesn't, it's unnecessary, doesn't make any sense, and they should have clarified Ellie's position a little bit better, because I think that would have made it land a little bit harder. If Joel knew that Ellie would have laid down her life, if she had made that clear instead of being super fucking vague about it at the end, then it would have been like, oh, Marlene was right. Or it could have gone the other way and make it so that Ellie made it clear that she had no intention of giving up her life and would not have made the choice, and it would have validated Joel's choice in saving her. But this super vague shit where nobody asks Ellie and nobody knows what Ellie's position is on having her brain removed, I think is the weirdest way to end season 1. With all of the strength, with everything they've possibly been doing. Like, the greatest cliffhanger we're leaving ourselves with is, did Ellie want her brain removed? I've watched a lot of TV, like, in my lifetime, and I gotta say that one takes the bizarre cake of being just unnecessarily stupid as a season finale cliffhanger. So I'm gonna give The Last of Us season 1, episode 9, an A-. It's really great all the way up until it decides to, I don't know, do something at the end. But the thing that it does at the end just doesn't come together. It's a fantastic. The giraffes were a brilliant idea, by the way. I'm sure that's in the video game. So, yeah, I like the episode. I like the beginning part. I did have that question about whether or not Ellie's just dangling between the legs, but this is a great show, and I'm sure it's going to get some Emmy nominations. I'd be absolutely shocked if our two leads did not get nominations. If Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are not nominated, I'd be shocked. And then if Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett don't get nominations for Best Guest Actor in a Drama, I'm shocked. I would be shocked. Those are the Emmy nominations I'm predicting for this series. So, at least. And probably a Best Drama nomination, if I'm being honest. They even gave it to Walking Dead in its first season, and I believe Andrew Lincoln was nominated for Best Actor for the first season of The Walking Dead. So, they sometimes with genre shows, they tend to recognize them when they're really hot, and then they fizzle out. Not everything gets to be as lucky as Game of Thrones, where Emmy voters continue to recognize it for the duration of the show. As we saw with some other shows like Cobra Kai fizzling out, or The Boys and stuff like that. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll be back with more shows, more show recaps. I'm still recapping The Mandalorian, where Joel is off protecting Groku. Anyway, I have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. And you can look up your favorite narrators like Roy Samuelson and see what else the dude has done, because he's done a lot of stuff. So, thanks for watching. I'll review something else for you guys and see you on the other side.